Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second event in the Nightlight Poetry Reading Series. My name is Tom Snarsky, and I'm delighted to be here with you hosting this marvelous group of readers, some of whom are old friends, returners to our series, others of whom I'm excited to hear read for the first time. If you haven't listened in before, Nightlight is a reading series featuring poets new and established in a monthly reading, but maybe also eventually like discussion and some other fun stuff, hosted virtually via Skype around the third or fourth Thursday of every month. We don't always figure it out on the third Thursday of the month, but sometimes we just shift it by a week and make it work like we're doing this month. We're always happening at 9 p.m. Eastern unless we figure out our life for an upcoming reading that might feature some UK poets, in which case will happen at a different time. But we're always looking for people who might be interested in joining us to read. So we always invite a group of folks to share a selection of their work with us. We have slots every month, and that means we're always looking for people who would maybe get in touch and see about joining us for a future reading. So if you have any sort of either friend that you think you'd like to hear read live, or if you are someone who'd be interested in sharing your work at a future event, please get in touch with us. We would love to hear from you. We have accounts on Twitter and Instagram. So on Twitter, we're at Nightlight Poems, all one word. And on Instagram, we were a little bit later to get the username. So it's night_light_poems_. So, needing to add some extra characters for uniqueness. Or you can get in touch with us via our email, which is poetrybooksontape@gmail.com, all one word. Or you can just send me a DM or email directly. I am at Tom Snarsky on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. I'd love to hear from you if you'd like to read with us. With that, I'm very excited to introduce our first reader of the evening, who is a returner in scare quotes. It's Sarah's first time reading for Nightlight, but she was a frequent reader with us when this series was called Performance Anxiety, and we're so excited to welcome back Sara Matson. Sara Matson, she, her, is a poet in Chicago. Her poems can be found in Bone Bouquet, Impossible Task, The Chicago Reader, and Crumpled in Recycling Bins from Berlin to Waukegan. Sara, we're very, very glad to have you back. I'm going to mute so you can take it away and share what you're going to read with us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom. It's really such a joy to be here. I'm so thrilled to be reading with you incredible folks. And if anybody feels any better, even I'm still really anxious. So I'm going to start tonight with reading a poem from my recent chapbook, Special Features DVD Poems. This was published by Alien Buddha Press. And my first poem tonight was inspired by the 2006 Michel Gondry film called The Science of Sleep. And this poem is called Life in 3D. Lips sliding between languages. Dream clouds bounce past your sleeves on my waist. Galloping horse tumbles words from my ears. Tiny flapping fish. Confused but not afraid. Untethered from scales or breath, like being unmedicated and 22 and living in a bad neighborhood. Familiar weight wriggles to my hips and circles, waiting to see if I'll embrace it. Cooing in a poem I can't speak. Orange, brown, and yellow are the most nostalgic waves in the spectrum bursting upon impact with retinas or golden pony boys. Albums crunching beneath European leather, this time period, always feels like an ache, like a forgotten remembrance. Like that video shop that used to sell me cigarettes hand-rolled in the back room, with a tiny, grainy television playing music videos or porn, beaded curtains splashing into itself. When I wake, my hands are huge, but my voice shy, smushed beneath the weight of affection, genuine and requited, but smothered by faux fur and ambition. I light a cigarette with a cigarette, inhaling until it becomes a song, waiting for you on the decaying balcony I rent from a man acquitted of the murder of his wife's sister that I live in until I don't. Thanks so much, y'all. I'm going to read one more from Special Features. This poem is a tercet and inspired by the sort of seasonally appropriate classic Edward Scissorhands. This poem is called Hold Me. Waist-deep bouffant, pastel silver, and weightless mid-career estheticians. Hi, Mom. Lush and groovy topiary existence, slender and cold blades haunting the profound. He was my grandfather, how all kindly old men are related to me by blood or sadness or diner food. Raspy, honey-soaked private affirmations, rolling posy pink like a lover's moisture down my throat. In conjunction with slinky blonde devotee, snow spiral, imitatable or deeply romantic. Cold nostalgia gently floating down to earth, potential sliced like overgrown fringe. Honor the ancient magic with vibrant organ or devilish hedge trimmed in velvet. Seminal collection of signature beehives, stark and impersonal pastel, electric against plasticized suburbs. Not bad, just weird. Is there a difference? Polished alternative in laminated metallic or thick tubes, weighty regrets, worn as a reminder of how nostalgia ages as memory soaks my tongue. Thanks so much. So my next poem is brand spanking new. It's brand new shit because Tom is really excellent at curating an environment where I feel safe to share weird new shit. So thanks, Tom. This brand new one is called Painting Advice. Turmeric lollipop forever knit to my scalp. Cut out metallic fibers stick to my arm hairs like organic preserves. I am an optical illusion. Do not perceive me. Cabernet. Embellished by waves or discipline, backless, sinky exposure, pleated to the micro ankle, burned directly to the edge. It's just a roach at this point. Infinity, winter mint, I am worn, ballooned at the waist, edible conversation piling like wool confetti, clogging the breath holes at the top of my cage. Denim suckled breast to teat embroidery, I yelled across the room in aged skin. Wander inside my mind where we clutch each other's damp hair, relieved when we glide past so many memories. Blush, sky blush, shy sky blush, shell phone leg break, body mob fantasy erasure completionism. Vibrant helicopters rush to catch my unexploded bits as I tumble from the southern sky. I just make it up outright, a lie that can glow in the dark, implanted confidence, manufactured humanity like folk music or finger drums, aesthetic as destructive fashion, the body made knowable. I fold myself into skeleton stationery, waiting for another angle, plucking your many facial tics from my teacup, admiring your shoulders as you squint, brush gliding color in a messy W, sticking thoughts between layers before reapplying. My final poem tonight is also brand new and is inspired by my intense affection for cats. This is part of a new project that I'm working on and is dedicated to a cat, all cats, your cat, my cat, all cats. This poem is called Advice for Cat Friends. Not calling the neighbor cat, but wanting to call the neighbor cat over the fence where I pet his dirty fur between perfect young teeth, which slide between layers of my hand skin. Like a dream, like a vision, he, cat, has appeared on our roof, in the drain basin, in the backyard brush, under the deck, behind the grill, under the dead maple plant, next to the sewer grates, behind the trash bin. Dark, save the wet paint. Clean, save the burrs. He, cat, chirps above my head, sliding down battered wood, rolling under the deck in my weedy mint fields. Drugs. He presses his chin into my palm and hides behind me when the danger, neighbor dog, sniffs too close. He, cat, glides onto our porch and wriggles, swiping at my toes before disappearing beneath the futon, and tiny snores float upward, unveiling his sticky face for new bird sounds. He, cat, rubs the highest point of his free back against my tattoo, infection, before he crawls into my winter lap, dreamless, and my legs go heavy, and I finish my tea. My hair coughed to an inch of its emerald life. I plastered the hollow of my cheek and anticipate, imagine my garden is catnip incarnate. I wait for you like a small damp house and jingle ball under the porch. I hold a mat of your fur that ejected as you bolted out of view with beguiling and accidental grace. Dummy! Leaning into our porch couch, I look for your whiskers against the sun. Having not seen you in weeks, I think about your black bean feet and weather-beaten collar when I hear triumphantly, he's back, baby! And he's covered in spider webs. Pressing my forehead to your small chest, idiot! I am relieved to feel your nose in my palm. You're not mine, but I love you, you know. You trot with purpose across the alley. Danger! Oblivious, ready to rest and repeat. See you soon. I want to text this to the neighbor cat, but the thing about cats is even if they could text you back, they wouldn't. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm Sara Matson.
Fantastic, Sarah. Thank you so much for starting us off on an Edenic catnip note. If you heard Skype noises while Sarah was reading, it was because everyone was blowing up the chat with how excited they were to hear Sarah's poems, to quote, call them a sonic wonderland, as Yasmine said, which they are. That was Sara Matson, and you can find Sarah under a pile of her three cats or on Blue Sky as Sara Matson, SaraMatson.bsky.social, and also on Twitter as @SkeletorWrites, SkeletorWrites. Sarah's chapbook of pop culture inspired poems special features is available on Amazon, and Sarah's full-length poetry collection, which is called Personal Fashion, one of my personal favorites of Sarah's work, is available directly through Sarah at linktree.com/Sara Matson, or I think it's like linktr.ee/Sara Matson. So check out more of Sarah's work. So excited to have her as our lead-off reader, and just, yeah, every time brings the joy, brings the cats. Evie's sleeping on the little love seat over there, so she's enthralled, but she'll get riveted later. Cool. So we have welcomed back a returner, and now I'm very excited to welcome someone new to the series, but someone whose poems I've gotten to know really well over the last couple weeks, someone I'm really excited to hear live. That is M.D. Wheatley. And M.D. Wheatley is a husband, father, and sometimes a writer. M.D., thank you so much for being here with us. Take it away.
Hello, hello. Do I sound good? Sweet. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I kept my bio pretty short, but I've had a few things here and there. I have a book that I'm about to release next month with some friends from New York. I live down in South Carolina though, but yeah, I have some friends that make like photo zines and like shit like that. So it's not like literary at all, but they're making a book for me, so I'm pretty stoked about that. And that's gonna, yeah, like I said, come out next month. We're gonna just have like a little party for it, and thinking like Chinatown somewhere next month. And then probably after we have like the party and like release it, I'll probably put it on the internet and stuff. I have a website, so I'll probably put it there. But yeah, so I'm gonna read a handful of poems. I'm gonna read a handful of poems out of that book, and then I thought maybe I would read a couple other random like newish like super. All my poems are like fairly short. Like I have like one poem here that'll maybe take me like my longest poem will probably take me 30 seconds to read. All the rest are very, very short. So, but yeah. So, and like Tom said, Tom helped me like tremendously the past few weeks. Like, yeah, Tom is just the best guy. He helped me so much with my book and editing and just having like a ear, you know, to bounce stuff off of. But yeah, so the book is called I just changed the name of the book like a couple nights ago. The book is called What a Heaven Could Feel Like is the name of it. And it's going to be a real pretty book. The cover's really pleasing to the eyes. This first poem, it's actually the very first poem that comes in the book. It's called In the Woods Across the Street. In the woods across the street, like monkeys swinging from trees, before we needed shoes, before we knew God. This next one's called ATM. At the moment machine, where I come when I'm in need. This one's called Three Versions of the Same Haiku about the time I drove from house to house, looking for the answers on how to be a good dad. Last second, hard left, dogs greet me, scratch the window, orange fades to blue. Last second, hard left, what's it take to feel renewed? Orange fades to blue. Last second, hard left, different color dirty, orange fades to blue. This next one's called A Haiku about the sun and the moon and my wife and my daughter driving in a car and running off little sleep. Fell in love last night, your face like sun in my eyes as I drive to work. All right, this next one's a little longer. This one's called When I Hear Gunshots Outside. When I hear gunshots outside, I don't run or bury my head in the pillow. I don't regret a thing or imagine how it could have been different. I don't lament you or examine the entry and exit wounds. I don't picture what you'd look like now, or for a split second, see her widow's peak. I don't obsess over memories or whether the snakes were real. I don't hide from the hurricane or ever let go of my mother's hand. I don't flush the scratched CDs or listen to Galapagos on repeat. I don't palpate the tailgate or leave the garage open all night. I don't brush with toothpaste or forget to drink Kool-Aid. I don't make a peep or blame her for flipping the four-wheeler. I don't break up the fight or cover the hole in the wall with a Gons poster. When I hear gunshots outside, I recite a prayer or think of a prayer that makes me feel less alone. This next one's called Basketball Dreams. I float through school, checking every room for signs of life. I heat the pan, crack the egg, but forget to check my horoscope. I tie my shoes, double knots, only to track through piles of shit. I print your smile, double-sided in color, to keep in my wallet. When the day becomes clad in cadmium orange, I dream I'm playing basketball on the sidewalk. All right, this next one's called, This next one's called Today It Was Hard to Breathe. Dreamt last night of God's playground, all under a massive / unidentifiable tree. Clovers covering the earth like blankets, moss infecting picnic tables like contagion, algae hovering swamps like feral angels, kudzu conquering everything vertical, inspired utility poles, faded stop signs, abandoned tree stands, broken crosses, etc., etc. Everything drowning in golden light, unfamiliar faces with infantile bodies, floating, dancing, singing in their own language. Felt like heaven, / what a heaven could feel like. This next one is called Trying to Catch My Breath. If I chose to deteriorate, would you let me? Or would you remind me of all the times we made sweet, sweet love, then ate ice cream? If I blamed my amnesia, would you flip the script and point the finger at God? We made God out to be our father when really she's our mother. Making out with you feels like making out with God. You caress my eyebrow scar, and my temporal body explodes. Disembodied, you cradle my head in your arms like our baby. I try to speak, but my voice gives out. I try to breathe, but choke on Kool-Aid. Your whispers I can't make out. We butterfly kiss, then you release my head into the clouds. This next one's a little shorty called The Gaze of 1,000,000. There are a million ways to become what you are, but you will never become what you were. This one is called The Closest I'll Get to Heaven. There's something about when I'm holding her, feeling my body melt into hers, and I'm holding a torso, but her feet are melting into the ground, her dextral arm in my desperate mouth, her skin hugging the magnitude of Earth. This next one is called Nothing Gold Can Stay. Whenever I blink, 24 hours pass, and the glowing red trash can is still full of hazardous Kool-Aid. This next one's called How to Keep It Together. One, go up to the rooftop. 2, look up at the sky. 3, return to the room. 4, look up at the ceiling. 5, tell yourself it's the same. Did you guys get that? That's 5 steps on how to keep it together if you ever need to keep it together. This next one is called The Communal Kitchenette. I see the same people every day in 5 o'clock traffic at the microwave. They look like zombies, minus the rotting flesh and hunger for life in their eyes. Sometimes I imagine their facial features shrunken 50% on the same face. It reminds me of perspective and just what a shift can do. This makes me less sad. This is the last one from the book. It's called A Haiku About Going Back and Forth and Back and Forth and Back and Forth and Back and Forth and Back and Forth. It's not in there that many times. Life felt less short when driving back home felt this long. I haven't really been paying attention, but have I been going for like a really long time? Do I have time to read like maybe 2 more? They're not really that long. Okay, cool. These are just some random ones. Yeah, just some random like newish ones / ones I like recovered out of the notes app on my phone and tinkered with recently. This one's called The Names. I've resorted to naming things. Like my toothbrush is called Mr. Clean. I call my towel Krusty after a certain amount of uses, like Krusty with a K from The Simpsons. My big ass headphones are called Beast Mode. Look at my Bluetooth device history if you don't believe me. I call my new lime green lighter God Bless America. That's only because it says God Bless America on it. I call my wife Babe, but that's not her name. I call my daughter certain names, a certain name, because we named her before she was born. The only thing I haven't named is my mailman, because I know he already has a name that he prefers to be called. This next one is originally just like the title was like the 2 red circle emojis. So if you can imagine that in your head, that's really what this was originally called. But yeah, actually, yeah, just imagine those 2 red circle emojis in your head. There used to be a Payless shoe source down the road from my house. There were 2 red circles in their logo, one in place of the O in shoe and one in place of the O in source. The new sign reused the 2 red circles and added a third in between. Now there is an ABC liquor store down the road from my house. All right, yeah. This next one is called this is the last one I'm going to read. This next one is called The Men at the Bus Stop on Cosgrove and Rivers Avenue. An eclectic group of downtrodden faces. A single white man with long, unkept locks and his guitar. Whether he can play it or not, I'll never know. A blind man, his neck adorned with carrots. I wish he knew how cool he looked. One sleeping man with his mouth agape. I could easily toss a peanut M&M in it. I assume he's spent from his graveyard shift. The only standing man in his high-vis vest appears to be wearing pants 4 sizes too big, adjusting his belt to no avail. Their one commonality is they'll all afterlive in a graveyard, just another stop to visit. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andy. If you can hear Basil, he's down here cheering you on. That was M.D. Wheatley, who is a poet extraordinaire, has many other things in this bio that I'm alt-tabbing to. But again, you heard a lot of poems from MD's new book called What a Heaven Could Feel Like, which is due out next month, October 2023. I'm really excited about that book. I have loved getting to know it. I'll have a little foreword in there if I remember to send it to MD quickly enough, but I'm very excited about it. And you want to find out more about MD and where to find him, which you can do on Twitter/X at HipCandelori, which is HIPCANDELORI, or on Instagram at md.wheatley, which is WHEATLEY. He also runs frequent and vigorous chapbooks. He's an editor at Swamp. He's working on some books, and mdweekly.us is where you can maybe find when they go on the internet, and some of those things are going in the chat as well. So very, very cool. Very, very glad to have you on, MD. Welcome to Nightlight. Also, MD's reading reminded me that there are a few things that I've taken on board from our performance anxiety days, but that I should say here, which is that we pretty much never pull anybody for going quote unquote overtime, because there is no overtime, there's just poetry time. And the other thing is that, like Sara mentioned, we love and value new shit. So when you have shared some new shit with us that you're pulling fresh out of the notes app, no pressure on any of the other readers, because you do not have this information beforehand, but we love and value that deeply, and we appreciate you trusting us with it. So without any further ado, I'm excited to introduce our third reader of the evening, and that is Yasmine Bolden. Yasmine Bolden, she is a Black American poet, educator, and newly minted plant parent from unceded Piscataway and Susquehannock land. A 2023 Best of the Net winner in poetry, an inaugural Southern Nisesu Endeavor Audre Lorde Fellow, she's studying and researching race and poetics at Johns Hopkins University, not too far from where I'm in Northern Virginia. Yasmine, thank you so much for being here with us. Do you want to try unmuting? We can see if we can hear you okay.
For sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Excellent. Amazing. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm super excited to be here, very honored to be amongst such amazing poets. Thank you so much to the poets who've gone already. I feel really giddy and really hyped up from hearing such amazing work. I'm going to be reading a couple of older poems and then a couple of newer poems tonight. The first one is a poem that's really near and dear to my heart called Cottagecore Death Fantasy. And this poem was written after a close friend of mine had this idea where she was like, oh, I would love to hear more about someone being able to become a tree after they die. So this is Cottagecore Death Fantasy after Jenna Ibrahim. What if I proposed to you after we whisper about my dying, breast implants could pocket all of the plant stuff needed to become a tree? Like, maybe when I die, you scoff at a coffin, knowing nothing can contain my overgrownness, and return me directly to the brown earthen hands that know how to handle me better than this Tupperware-obsessed world ever could. Like, what is everyone always trying so hard to save in those tiny tubs? Leftovers? Compost, baby. It is a few sleepy breaths past 2 a.m, and I can see the question in the curve of your neck as you beckon me over. Come here. Bring the meaning closer, you say without sound. I'm always so afraid to touch you, not because of anything you'll do, but because of the any time of my die. You can laugh, that was worded funny on purpose. I pop my fluttering Asclepius tuberosa thoughts in vases too large and ornamental to do their job properly. You stare at me, not intensely, and I'm reminded of how good you are with a hammer. Do you want implants? You ask, splintering my abstractions with your bare fingers. Okay, stop. What I mean is, I want to be a mother. I know stems and STEM who could make that happen. Your eyes are closed now, tired and so softly alive. You will be, you say, as if you don't know my body, as if our earlier conversation isn't rotting between us as we speak, silently giving itself to the silly little green shoots of the fantasy I'm trying to flesh out for us. Can't you just let some part of me live a little? So that's Cottagecore Death Fantasy. This next poem is called Aunt Esther. And it is written, it was inspired, the title is inspired by an August Wilson play, a character named Aunt Esther. This is Aunt Esther after Serena Patel. My paternal grandmother knew the power of the spoken word, a poet, but not in the traditional sense. She employed a knowledge that science can't capture, swapping open mic nights for lecturing the family about the dangers of talking on the phone during a storm. About making a call during treacherous weather would be akin to inviting the sky inside. My maternal grandmother moved words like magic. A poet, just one arrangement of syllables and a smile could make tears evaporate, alter the past, change the future in a flash of aching rib, soften a heart, let her live for another lifetime after the sky had opened up to invite her home. My two grandmothers with me at the kitchen table, Scrabble game between us would be the ultimate writer's workshop, the quintessential Black scientist convention. I would tell my paternal grandmother that she'd always deliver truth in her spoken word, that science had confirmed her theories about phones and storms, and I know she would look at me, say that we been knew, that the knowing came from bones, not beakers, she, a knowing that strikes hot and sure, where the concrete metal spire of language ends and where we begin. Brilliance embedded in braided wisdom as thick as the curls weaving themselves into each other atop my head. We, women so unlanguageable that we can't help but be the pulse of all things fresh and futuristic, all life soft and solid, creating the culture, crafting new words and worlds to approximate all of the unnameable ways in which our hair defies gravity, our devotion defies death, and our love defies time. My maternal grandmother would say, We women forged not by oppressive melting of the world, but by the gentle and blazing love we give to one another, have always known the pull of our poetry, the magnetism of our mouths, and if we invited lightning in for a little flash fiction, how could it ever refuse women as metal as us? So that's on Esther. Oh, thank you guys so much for all the love. These next couple of poems are newer. This poem is called Queer Love Counsel from Ruth and Naomi, and it starts with a quote from the Bible, which is, "Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried." That was from Ruth to Naomi. Dear queer, or maybe dear queer girls, or dear women in the time after times when dear meant severe, meant sore, meant more and more, the men between you may shrivel, acidic soil fawn geranium heads dried out by your alkaline mouths, may wake up in a paradise where you don't exist and breathe out the root of your name. But you never leave the women who love you. For better or for redacted verses, you will adore the sweet rounded backs that press purple maypop night into your chest. Or you will root yourselves in one another's heartbreak, or else the swish of their shaking off sand will season your sleep. When the beginnings of classically Southern mothers on a manhunt fever shimmer around their bodies, treating your heated breasts like a plot of land to emerge from with renewed thirst, let them stay behind you. Only do not forget your lengthy desert of longing is worth crossing to follow you. Only do not cross yourself. It would desiccate the greatest gay heart of all time. When she took a rib from Adam, a woman stranger grew around the bone with the great-grandmothers of Passiflora and Lavender whirling beneath her skull. So do not be surprised when the women who have seemingly graduated from your side, who held your hand and who took it, introduce you to their baby daughters, who hold your finger exactly the way you'd expect someone formed from it would. And that is Queer Love Counsel from Ruth and Naomi. Thank you guys. And then this next poem was actually inspired by Queer Love Counsel. It's called The Greatest Gay Heart of All Time, because that was one of the last lines that I added into that poem. And then I thought, oh, it's actually kind of a fun sounding title. So this is The Greatest Gay Heart of All Time. The greatest gay heart of all time, dressed up as Persephone in the 8th grade, still got spirited away by a spiny pine tree of a boy with severe heart rot while in grade 9, has eyes like twin moons, has girl best friends like night skies, has girlishly kissed the galaxies with no names yet, will not be the one to name them. Sings to her plants and the unnamed planet resting its weight on her chest, will watch it bloom and will boo the baby Elon Musk's planning portable colonies atop her freshly yawning mitochondrial churches, knows that heart rot must be carried in through an open wound, became a licensed marriage officiant as soon as she was old enough to. Married girls pre-Hades with dandelion rings under the kiddie slides back in the 1st grade, before Obergefell versus Hodges, before it was legal, says fuck legality, says let's get married here, says she believes in the healing potential of sick trees, sent down her one and only son. So maybe it's gay to love the world so good and have 7 plants with secret names napping around your house. Says, what if when we graduate, you go off and become licensed as a full-time tree rehabilitator or an ethical astronaut whose phone cords don't quite reach far enough for us to chat, and only asks because you already know the answer. The greatest gay heart of all time says, what if we kissed under your mom's terra deliciosa? What if you told me your name, the one you were given, and the one you were not allowed to have? Thank you guys. And that's all from me. Thank you so much again for having me. Really appreciate all of the love and encouragement. And thank you so much to Tom Snarsky for inviting me. I'm super, super honored to be here.
Thank you so much, Yasmine. We are super honored to have you, and it was just so cool to hear those poems. That was, again, Yasmine Bolden, who you can find on Twitter at BLK Punning Poet, BLKPUNNINGPOET, and on Instagram at Black Punning Poet, BLACKPUNNINGPOET. Yasmine is also a brand new editorial assistant at the Hopkins Review, so keep your eyes on social media over the next few weeks for posts about stuff going on over there, and just keep an ear to the ground for new poems from Yasmine, because if like me, that just took the top of your head off, you want to read them, and so do I. Oh, wow. Cool. This has been just a beautiful energy to bring to the first half of the reading. I am glad to be entering the back half on such a high note, and also to be welcoming someone who I admire not only in their capacity as a poet, which speaks for itself, but also in their capacity as an educator. The more teacher poets, the better, in my humblest of opinions. And there couldn't be a better one to welcome in, Basil is reminding me now, than Carla Sofia Ferreira. Carla Sofia Ferreira is a Portuguese-American teacher from Newark, New Jersey. Her first poetry book, Snap, Snap, Applause, Celebration, Fireworks Emoji, will be published by River Books in January 2024. Keep an eye out for it. It's going to be amazing. She believes in semicolons, community gardens, and her cat Moonshadow. Carla, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to hear what you're going to read. I'm so excited for your book. The floor is yours. Oh, can anybody else hear Carla? I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Oh, sorry, you're unmuted, but I can't hear you just now. Basil's yelling at me to fix something about that. Let's see if we can rectify this. Yeah, do you want to try and do that, or maybe do if you have like headphones or something? I'm so sorry. Skype is not my favorite entity at this moment. Damn it. Yeah, if you want to try leaving and coming back, or if you have like headphones you could plug in or something. Darn. No worries. Basil will sing you the song of his people while we are waiting here. I don't know if you can hear him in the back, but he has lots of opinions. And also, I wanted to amend my own statement earlier because I forgot to mention that MD is also a teacher. So we have other teacher poets in the room with us as well. I feel really bad for forgetting that detail, but I'm glad you reminded me. Carla, can we hear you now? Ah, shoot, I still can't. Can anyone else hear Carla? Dang, I am a million times sorry about the annoyance of this. Sometimes if you go down into the little handy dandy, if you have the three dots that say more and you've got like little audio and video settings, sometimes you can like move stuff around there. Or if you have like even crappy headphones, sometimes they can work in a pinch. Skype is just like fighting back against the spirit of poetry today. I still can't hear you, I don't think. Let's see. I agree that technology is such a jerk. That is completely true. Carla, are you on your computer just now? Because we could also try your phone if I could send you a message if that's possible. I could see if maybe that would work. Yeah, let me try sending you a message. Gonna do some, whatever the Skype version of being an ER doctor is. Just gonna steal that valor completely and not worry too much about it. Let's see. Basil is actively biting my legs, so I can't tell if he wants me to succeed or fail. That's always exciting. Let's see. Yeah, Basil demands success. Basil is going to camp out at the Microsoft headquarters and he's going to be like, listen here, you have been the number one obstacle to poetry on this Thursday night, and you need to be held accountable for that, Bill, or whoever it is now. Sending myriad crying emojis. Let's see if that works. Ooh. All right, Carla is being amazingly adaptable. All right. So yeah, we are going to work on getting Carla back up and able to talk with us, but we will actually invite our next reader up for just now, and then we will see if we can get Carla on and mic'd up and ready to go after that. So let's see, actually, Carla is back in the call. Did it work? Oh, I see you're on a different screen aspect ratio. Maybe this is right.
Tom, are you able to hear me?
Yes. Hooray!
Yay!
Problem solving. MD, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Carla, for being here. We are so glad that worked out, and we really appreciate your on the fly. We've learned tonight twice over how big the Skype app is, like how long that son of a thing takes to download. So thank you, Carla, for being here. I'm so glad that you're here with us and that we can hear you. And I am just thrilled to hear what you're going to read. So I will take up no more airtime so that you can take the lead and read your beautiful poems to us.
Thank you again so much, Tom, and thank you everyone for your patience while I tried to figure this out. We saw some teacher kind of lesson improvising on the fly right now, so I'm super delighted to join these wonderful poets tonight. Thank you to everyone who read, and thank you everyone who's here on a Thursday night listening to poetry. That just makes me have so much more faith in humanity that we're all here listening to poems together. I'm going to read 3 poems tonight. 2 are going to be in the forthcoming book, which I still can't believe is happening. So my first poetry book is going to be published in January by River Books. So I'm going to read 2 poems from that book, and then I'm going to read another poem that I just really love reading, and I kind of have it on the shelf for my second book of poems, which probably is going to take me another 10 years to finish. So I'm just going to keep reading it at every reading until then. The first of the 3 poems is not new at all. It's one of my oldest poems, in that I wrote it when I was pretty young. I was in my senior year of college, and in some ways it's scarier to read that work than new work, because it definitely was written by a previous version of myself. Okay, so here we go. The poem is called Hearsay. Hearsay. They say in Avignon, people dance on the bridge that was either unfinished or fell apart. No one remembers those folk stories anymore. 2 professors stood in line to dispense their trays, and one graybeard said to the other, I advised the young ladies in my class to never marry on the promise of reform. You must change the man before you take him. When I walked back to the dormitory, I thought of my grandmother knitting lace when the afternoon hunched over to listen to her intricate pattern, the clicking of her needles. She has such a knack for consistency and small detail. It was a city of walls, a sacred city rendered blasphemous with graffiti on its walls and pigeons pecking bits of falafel scattered on its streets. 6 weeks with those walls, I never once made it to the bridge. We thought of it, we let it go. The Rhone passes through the city and lets the talk of its pedestrians and their parables enter. Our geography is no stranger to reformation. We write over histories. Some are unfinished or they fall apart. So that's one of the very first poems in the book. And I probably should mention the title of the book itself is A Geography That Does Not Hurt Us. This next poem is newish, and I wrote it in my high school classroom in Newark, and it's a very special classroom because that's where I was a sophomore in high school, and then I, many years later, was teaching sophomore English in that same classroom. And so during one of my very precious few prep periods, I wrote this poem, and it's called Today My Students Tell Me. Today, my students tell me that I look like someone who never drives a car, that I look like I am someone who takes a train everywhere. And I love that they see me like this, the same way that I love that one day a student asks me, "Do you buy your clothes on EnglishTeacher.com?" When the truth is, I would if such a place existed. Another day, a student tells me that I seem like the kind of person who is good at tending plants, that I seem exactly like someone who would care for dying plants and maybe even heal them. Only I am the one adding maybe because they said it with such conviction, and another student agreed with them like this was simple and true, and I laughed, told them they were wrong, that I wish I were more like my grandmother, who was, in fact, a tender of gardens and all green things. And what I don't tell my students is that I am so bad at taking care of anything, including myself. I don't tell them that their words, their kindness, unprovoked by anything, like when a student told me I smelled like waffles and they wanted me to know this was a compliment, their tenderness, even just the shared nodding of heads, that it takes care of me every day, that it keeps me like a garden. So I I really do love teaching. I really do love my students most days. And so many of those phrases, I feel like I'm a co-author of that poem because so many of those phrases came to me verbatim from my students, and I'll never forget the student who told me that I smelled like waffles and quickly followed it up with, "That's a compliment, by the way." So it's like, thank you. I'm so glad. This next poem and my final of the three poems, I just had like such a blast writing this. It popped up on Instagram one day. I was scrolling through my feed, and then there was this absolutely bizarre headline that became the title and prompt for this poem, which is about a lot of things, including like unrequited love, but also psychedelic toads. So the name of this poem is "The National Park Service warns us to not lick the psychedelic toad. Please don't lick this psychedelic toad," National Park Service warns. I have a few follow-up questions. I want to hear first from those of you who are looking at toads, psychedelic or otherwise, and then think, time to lick that. I want you to know that I'm speaking from a place of great envy, even admiration. I, who am so cautious at taking even logical risks, like jumping feet first into a crystal clear lake on a summer day, or kissing a man who is my friend and whose lips I want to taste, or any other small and probably not fatal leap like those. But there are those of you out there who are licking toads. Can I meet you? Can we talk? I have so much to learn. Next, some questions for the National Park Service. You might think I want to ask you how you know a toad is psychedelic, but no. I want to know about this small kindness, this extension of yourselves beyond what I am sure is a daily cat's cradle of red tape routines into this gesture, telling others what you likely never imagined you would have to say. Please do not lick the toads, though they are beautiful, because I know personally how hard it is to deny simple risks that could yield pleasure, but only at the expense of perhaps great pain. In fact, really, I don't know what the consequences are for licking a psychedelic toad. You see, I am, I guess, a typical American who did not read past the headline. And also, I am given to writing poems the way some people might be drawn to, say, licking a toad despite its poison, so I wrote this instead. But National Park Service representative, whoever you are out there writing these public service announcements, I hope you see them for what they are, an act of care, a steady caution, the hand that holds the kettle. I have some questions for the frog, too. Namely, what's it like to be craved beyond logic, beyond caution? Thank you all. And Moonshadow says hi.
Oh, thank you for the poems and thank you for giving Moonshadow a cameo. That was Carla Sofia Ferreira, who took the top of my head off, also who you can find on Twitter at CSFerreira08, CSFERREIRA08, or on Instagram at CS Ferreira Writes. And Basil's like, don't forget to talk about the book. Don't worry, I will. The pre-order link for A Geography That Does Not Hurt Us is at Carla's Linktree, which is linktr.ee/CS Ferreira Writes. And keep your ear to the ground. River Books is publishing A Geography That Does Not Hurt Us in January 2024. And if you just heard what I just heard, you know it's going to make waves. So thank you, Carla, for being with us, for persevering through an absolutely inordinate amount of Skype obstructionism to deliver that beautiful, beautiful reading to us. Wow, cool. All right, and now I scared Gregory with the left hook earlier. I was like, maybe you'll go now, and no, but actually you'll go now. So I am very excited to now introduce, in actually where he was in the reading order, a returning reader, someone who whose work I love dearly and who is representing my home state of Massachusetts with aplomb, Gregory Glenn. Gregory Glenn is a writer and artist based in Massachusetts. He is beloved editor supreme at Unpopular Writer. Gregory, thanks for being here with us. I'm really excited to hear what you're going to share this go-around. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Tom. And thank you, everybody else so far for reading. This is a real honor. So I'm Gregory. I'm Greg. I'm Greggy. For branding purposes, what you're about to hear is rated G, but actually it's probably rated R because I do say the S word and the F word in them. So I have some new shit. I have some old shit. I have some oldie goldies, some newy blueies, and some in-betweeny weenies. We're going away for a couple of weeks in a couple of days, and I'm really going to miss my cat, Millhouse, who is not here. He's sleeping upstairs. He's being very good. These first two poems are about Millhouse. So here we go. Does everybody here know Forbes magazine? That's still real, right? Forbes magazine is still around. Okay. This is an article from Forbes magazine a few years ago. I'd read that, and that's what inspired this poem, as well as My Cat Millhouse. You'll see. This is called Catch Up, with apologies to Warren Schulberg, who wrote that article. Catch Up. Our cat does this thing where he gets on the bed and he bites the comforter, Well, actually, it's more accurate to say that he delicately pinches it between his teeth, because the rest of what he does with it, I suppose, at least to him, is very tender. And so I am reading this article about Sears and Kmart and Forbes magazine, which uses words like incredible, woeful, and alarming to describe the declining number of Sears and Kmart retail locations in America, where they had at one time each been the largest retailers. And the cat is giving the comforter his love bite, and he starts kneading. He just goes crazy kneading, purring, snarling, staring ahead at me and kneading. I used to think it was some kind of leftover nursing behavior from when he was a kitten, maybe prematurely taken from his mother, which I know sounds very sad, though it probably saved his life. And what's sadder to me is how clever people get when they write their own bios, and how this practice now extends to outlets like Forbes magazine, as if analyzing and documenting retail stores unironically is artful or compelling or necessary. Or actually, I remember one time standing in South Station, I heard someone on the phone talking about someone they knew in accounting who they described as being a rock star in their profession, as if rock and roll had anything to do with it, as if rock and roll had anything to do with anything. And that's, I guess, where we've arrived at. We'll put ketchup on anything and call it food and expect and sometimes demand that people eat it. But the reason the cat bites the blanket like this is because when cats have sex with each other, the male cat bites the female cat's neck to induce a latent reflexive response in the female to keep her still. Like when a cat picks up a kitten by its scruff, it is actually a defensive maneuver on the part of the biting cat to make sure that neither cat gets hurt. And so that's what my cat is doing. He's fucking the brains out of this comforter, and he does it all the time. And I don't know why, and I don't want to know what it is about the comforter that's so sexy to him. I don't think I want to know either. Even the part of me that wants to know doesn't want to know. And so I finish reading this article and I look up and the cat is finished fucking the blanket and he's licking the ghost of his nuts. And I say, isn't it just unbelievable that with everything going on in the world, someone would want to write something like this, that they would think anyone would want to read something like this, that they would think that this is important enough to share with humanity? But here we are. This next poem is also about Millhouse. Oh, thank you. This is called Waiting for the Mouse. Sometimes things feel like we've gotten kind of weird about God's plan. For the last 2 or 3 weeks, one of our cats has been stalking a mouse in the walls upstairs. This has been our first mouse since we started living together, and a house can only do so much to resist the natural world. Maybe a house is the best kind of insurance we have against going feral ourselves, either killing each other or getting along or just watching each other. It's hard to say, but we've already started all that anyway, and now the cat is here in this house, walking along the walls, waiting for the mouse to find some kind of opening, make an escape, and there's no telling if he'll kill it or not, or if he'll get along with it or not, or if he'll just watch it. Maybe he's never even seen a mouse before, except when we've shown him pictures of mice, movies of mice, or any of the dozens of toy mice we've given him in his 5 years of life. But never a mouse in the flesh, unless it was when we were sleeping. And I guess it's worth noting here that flora and fauna, cats and mice, all still occur while we're sleeping. So then, what would the cat do with it if he caught it? Would he do as expected? Why do we expect animals? People talk about God having a sense of humor, but here the object is laughing at the joke from the inside. Has there ever been a joke like that? Its object, its animal escaping the joke alive and running through joke after joke after joke, through fields of jokes, instead of trailing off the tongue alive into the nebula of laughter we weren't meant to survive, that we've all feared. These next two poems got Santa Claus in them. Isn't that kind of fun? This first one is called Letting Each Other Go. I guess this is kind of new shit, I guess. Letting each other go. There is a family that lives up the street from me in a green house. I know them only because every time, well, almost every time I walk past their house, the mother and the father, or the mother or the father, somebody lets me go. Or sometimes I let them go, depending on traffic. And I smile and I wave, thank you. And when they see this, they smile and they wave a little more. And I like that. But then it feels kind of sad because that's just it, it's over. And in my imagination, this excitement is fertile ground for some kind of more situation relationship. I want us both to think they're nice, but they have a child, children, so they probably don't think of me beyond this point, even if they remember me or recognize me when I show up at their driveway. My two brothers and I have birthdays a few days apart, the 13th, 15th, and 18th, but they have Aries moons, and I have the compulsion to nurture this kind of Santa Clausian myth of kindness in the world that they don't believe in, I don't think. And I tell them about it, how I have seen it, how it's happened to me or in front of me. They must hate it when I talk about it in that sing-song pitch between, I don't know, and I told you so. It is like Santa Claus, and it's balanced between you have to see it to believe it, and you have to believe it to see it. This shadowy benevolence operating just outside of their periphery. It is like Santa Claus in that way. It is like Santa Claus in that a number of people, adults and children, are working together to construct, to maintain, to emphasize this phenomenon. It is like Santa Claus because at a certain point, its value has overwhelmed our efforts. Some of us, and I mean us, we are us, let's be fair. Who knows? Maybe it's because I'm a child of divorce and this has manifested itself in my desire for everyone to feel liked. I will never be liked, and so it is the least I can do as everyone's common enemy. I haven't told my brothers about this family in the greenhouse because it seems too small, too personal to be significant. Those are your neighbors, I can hear my brothers say. Of course they're nice to you. They know you, in my imagination, they tell me. But the truth is that this family doesn't know me, not at all. And they're not even my neighbors, really. And I can't tell them. I just can't bring myself to say it. This one is called Thanks for Taking Care of Me. I'm having a dream. I'm a barber. I don't know what it means. Santa Claus walks in and says for me to start trimming his beard, and when I do it, he tells me that they are saying now it might actually be true, that right before we die for about 30 seconds, our life does flash before our eyes. It's like you're having this dream, he says, and at the moment at least, they believe that it's all or mostly happy memories our brains are showing us. Then Santa laughs in the dream, and looking at me in the mirror, he says, you know, you are always thinking about the past. All you ever do is remember. How would you know the difference one of those times you're lying there, staring at the light from the window on the wall, unable to recall if it was from a memory, if it was from a dream, this room you always think about, its smell, its details all coming apart, dimming as the afternoon moves along, the lights go, and you drift along too, maybe falling asleep, maybe, and it's the last thing you know. I don't know. I don't know when I started. I think I have a couple more. Do I have room for a couple more? Time for a couple more? Okay.
Yeah.
mm. Oh. All right. This is called Middle Child. This one has a mirror in it too. What do you know? Everyone here knows what a mirror is, right? It's like a window kind of, but you know, different. Middle child. Putting my hair up has been good. It is like finding a long lost sister who I wonder if she's older or younger, but younger, I think. Or if we're twins, I don't know. It feels like she's here now. When I look at her, I'm just staring at both of us like this, and she's somewhere behind me, maybe. You can kind of make her face out. You don't have to strain to tell we're related. Maybe it's easy for you to see it, even if we aren't twins. We probably act a lot alike. like the same foods, switch between our own sets of pet peeves, keep our secrets. She remembers most of the family stuff that I've forgotten, but she never wants to talk about it. Nothing traumatic. It's more that I'm the one who loves to dwell on it. Those are her words. She humors me, makes the same face she makes in the mirror when she listens to me or when I'm too formal asking how she's doing, being a little too vulnerable, impatient, sad, earnest. She'll laugh and then she'll answer, and that's kind of how it's always been with us. I'm the needy one, and she the one who is needed. This will be my last one. This is new shit. And thank you everyone for listening and for presumably being very kind in chat. I'm hearing a lot of sounds. If you're being mean, that's okay too. This is called The Banker. My wife has been worried lately about my finances, my plans for retirement. She's a lawyer, you see, and you're looking at what it is that I do. And so I haven't told her this, and you could maybe not tell her this too, but I've been going to see a banker once, sometimes twice a week for financial advice, and frankly, sometimes just to shoot the shit. He is 6 years old, and I know what you're thinking, but he's still young at heart. He's old enough that he's developed a conscience, but hasn't quite broken into that territory of rationality. This is a kind of Goldilocks zone to me because he is still governed by his imagination and he knows right from wrong. Truthfully, though, he really doesn't know very much about money, about banking, and he doesn't know about banking holidays either. But scheduling is still kind of hairy since his availability revolves around when he feels like playing banker. But on those days, he truly goes above and beyond to make me his priority. He will move all his appointments to suit me. His other clients must really like him too. I see them sitting out in the lobby, always smiling. I've even started talking with a few, the ones I see there most frequently. We all get along fine, even his secretary too. They are all stuffed animals, with varying degrees of wear. We've only got about another year left to look forward to his services as a banker before he loses interest in us. They'll stick around, sure, some longer than others, filling different roles as needed, the rest peeling off, falling away gradually. Some of them, like me, he probably won't even remember, or that we all played banker together. Someday his parents will remind him, but it will be as if they're telling him about somebody else, another boy, a strange and ruleless game, a different life, too many memories away now, until they too are gone. But that is unimaginable to him, even at this age, thank heaven, Mom and Dad, his sun and moon. The other day I came home from seeing the banker, and I'd been crying on the walk back. My wife noticed and she asked me, "What's the matter? Is that grape jelly on your shirt? What is it you've been doing all day? Where have you been?" And I can't tell her about the banker, how we'd been in his office and I was explaining to him how airplanes work. I don't know really, but he asked me. And he started to cry. Not about anything really, he was just tired. But that got me crying. And then he stopped and he asked me, "Why are you crying?" But how could I say all of this to him? He shouldn't understand. Death is a mystery that only time will reveal to him. And selfishly, I don't want to blow whatever financial advice he might still have left for me. And so I said to him, "I'm sad, you're sad." "Oh," he said, "that's weird," he said. "And I never seen a grown-up crying before," he told me. And then that was it. The game was over. I went out into the lobby and took a cup of the free coffee he has out there for his customers. I sat next to the stuffed elephant who told me once that he'd been one at the circus. I finished my coffee and said goodbye. All of this felt like a series of lasts. And as I was leaving the house, the banker's mother and father looked up at me. "See you again on Monday?" Mother asked. "No, I don't think so," I said. "Ah," said father. "You know," Mother said, "we really should be paying you to watch him like this. He seems to really like you. He's kept all your money in that jar by the window. He hasn't touched it." "He's a good banker," I told her. "He's a good child," she said. "Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry," I said. "That's what I meant to say. I forgot." That's what old people do. We forget, said father, and he laughed. We all laughed. I'd heard it a million times, but that's what the old world and its old people do. We laugh like we never heard it all before, and we laugh. We act like we never heard it all before, and we laugh. It's as close as we've ever come to mercy. Thank you.
Wow. That was Gregory Glenn. And that was amazing. I literally, one of those chat things was I was in tears over the Millhouse poem, but it was a different kind of tears than the banker shed there. Wow, yeah, I'm going to be thinking about that one for a good long while. Gregory Glenn, you can find at _this is Greggy on Instagram and on TikTok, which is _THISISGREGGI, and also at unpopularwriter.bsky.social. And unpopularwriter.com/Greggy is where you can keep track of some amazing stuff that he's doing, not only as poet extraordinaire, but also as editor at Unpopular Writer. Gregory, it's always a pleasure to have you. It's so cool to hear those poems, and the banker is going to be with me for a good long while. Wow. Yeah, so it has been a beautiful uphill, mid-hill, downhill, etc. climb to get to the end of this reading. Skype fought us every neck of the way, but we are here now, and I am so excited to be introducing our final reader of the evening in Lin Elizabeth. Lin Elizabeth is a 27-year-old poet whose work has appeared in several publications, speaking and shedding light on trauma, addiction, and the beauty of the constant cycle of change. She has an upcoming chapbook being released on October 18th called Cherry Spitter, which recounts her days in the sex work industry while being an alcoholic. Lin, thank you for being here with us and for sharing your work. I'm so excited to hear stuff from your book. Take it away.
Thank you, Tom. Can you hear me? So they can hear me good? Okay, great. I am so honored. Thank you so much to be here. I'm going to read a couple things from my book. I do want to talk about them. Naked Cat Lit Mag is who's putting my book out. It's a small print press. I'm pretty sure they're on the East Coast. I'm in the South. They're literally like, I cannot deal with how great they are. They've pushed out everything and they've been so helpful, and I just love them so much. But let's dive into my work. Cherry Spitter also is it's a diary and recounting of my days as a sex worker and an alcoholic. So, without further ado, I'll read the starting poem because a friend of mine actually said it was great, and I was like, I'm pretty astonished that they thought it was really good because that was a weak poem, but I trust them. So, the sacral. Also, just to preface everything, I have a stutter, and so at any point, just give me a moment. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your patience. The sacrality of the pig. At the meek waitressing job, while you were tapering at your father's house before caving and moving back into your mother's, you flirted with the very married cook, innocently. Because he was nice and passionate about cooking, you wore passion around your throat. He wanted to do nothing but work for himself. You knew that cross, you bore it. Both were akin to the hike. You never meddled, only genuine questions of interest. How do I make tomato soup from scratch? Can honey be a salve for the throat chakra? Bacon isn't that great. Why do we so fervently insist it is? Is it even flirtation anymore? death's sweet winks before it all fell down like Jenga slips, the drinking again, one day at a time, or some bullshit like that. The next one I'm going to read 3 if that's okay, and then I'm going to end on 2. I might read 1 that is a newbie oldie. I don't really know if you guys are okay with that. I know it's late for me here. I know it's not too late for you guys, and I don't know how I'm doing on time, but I don't know. Just let me know. The next poem I'm going to read is called Sacrimony. According to Urban Dictionary, it is ceremony and sacrifice, the two unlikely dovetails caught kissing cheek to cheek, flush red caught, aching like the Cabernet stashed in our Father's Holy Ghost cabinet. Triangulation, there's the 3-point system in most everything you do, feeling, thought, and reaction. Happenstance. To shoot the second arrow is mental armament, suffering in the end. Rise, fall, rise again. Combat sports. Focus on using this to release something into the ether. Inertia. An object at rest. At stays, at rest. Sometimes it comes as exuberance. Red petals being cast upon the way on the ground is another way of surrender, it seems. Wave your white flag, I'll throw the petals down so you can delicately walk back. Isn't that what it's about? Oneness. Did you count the steps as you walked up the stucco to find me? Surrounded by the dozen of echoes. The way is through, but it's always easier than it seems. Thank you. And then the next one I'm going to read, this is the last one I'm going to read from Cherry Spitter. The next ones I'm going to read are 2 that are kind of in the mix, and then I'll end on 2 that are very dear and near to my heart, if that's okay with everyone. And then thank you guys so much. The wounded child of you. At the exact time your sister is moving the noodles in the orange Tupperware bowl, you are not wanting to believe what the therapists are saying. Narcissistic personality disorder. It rolls off the tongue like a designer feature in a car. This model has so much narcissism in it. It'll take you around the town and back, and you will feel like you've traveled the world. In the kitchen again, you remembering how you always hated eating. It's too much of a burden anyways. Can I just exist cleanly without fueling the car? What if I want to see how long it rolls? If it goes into the mouth and alters, it's poison. You will always eat as if someone's going to take your fucking food. You hated spaghetti though. Bright stains and the Tupperware make good reason to have a meltdown. The smell, the steam of the huge pot in the small kitchen. Why is it the men that remind you of your father the most? The ones with the quiet anger, the trash can of Tupperware, aftermath, dog whistles in the strip club you worked on and off for years. The chef had spaghetti every Thursday. He'd smoke his Marlboro Reds, drink 44 ounces of Coke 3 times every night. Somehow, whiskey was his drink of choice after work at the bar you two would always go to. Neat. The bartender raped you one of your last 4 drunks. He unpacks the cigarettes you buy before with this knowing stare. Birds of a feather. That's what kitchens and strip clubs are for. Crying, along with dressing rooms, the champagne rooms when the men go to ATMs, bar scouting the bartender who watches the stage too intently at times, or bathrooms confettied with mystery magic powder on the backs of toilets. Quickly and quietly, or to drink more, to gulp it down. Your choice. Usually both. Richard, the cook, was the only man you let actually see you cry over men. How mean, kind, beautiful, terrible, and small they could be for years. Do you twirl or poke? I twirl, of course. I always twirl. Who else for? What else am I to do but twirl? Twirl for you, for her, for them, for myself. It's all fun and games until I get dizzy again. My therapist told me I need to work on communication. How does someone open their mouth if all they've ever been inclined to do is shut it? I sing the songs over and over, and they are probably all just off-key. Dog whistles. They always come in packs. Thank you. I'm gonna read one because I don't know how I'm doing on time, and I don't want to overdo it. I'm going to do a small one that I wrote the other day, and I like it. I don't think it's finished, but the first 2 stanzas kill me, so hopefully they'll kill you too. I mean, hopefully, like, not physically, but you know what I mean. To call a bird by its genus is to call it by its god's name. Class follows all orders in the kingdom that the moon has decided to rule. In ancient Rome, black togas was symbolic of mourning a loss. Sobriety is a state of balance. Emotional intoxication is still drunkenness. That's it. And then the first book, I'm always so grateful to the people who teach me, because I'm forever gonna be a student. Like, I'm not in school. I dropped out like 2 years into college, whatever, fuck it. I don't need college. I learn from people. I don't know. But in college, a dear friend of mine, Liz, mentioned this poet. Her name is Kate Greenstreet. She spoke at my college in 2013. Unbeknownst to me, it was before I was even attending, so does it really matter? But she gifted me this book, and it's actually signed. So, I mean, you can't, it's a lie, but it's crazy that I have a signed copy of this, and it's marked up because I'm terrible, and I don't know how to control myself. But I've read this book in times where I couldn't even read. Like I was too drunk to even read, but I still picked it up. I don't know why. So I feel like it holds a lot of significance. It's entitled Case Sensitive. And then what I'm going to read from Case Sensitive, she has this really great section in her book. Her books her poetry books have like annexes at the end of them. And so she sometimes attributes some phrases that she's seen off of like headlines or something was said in an interview or something like that. It's beautiful the way it's laid out, and I want to write like that someday. And she has a section called Salt, and it's all the sort of things that you can do with salt, or what salt's imagined to be like, or uses for salt, like breaking spells, or did not provide any life. This one is page 7 of it, and it's entitled Raises the Boiling Point. She's just there. What do you mean? What's the deal? She's sleeping. You can spend a long time not doing something to lean towards and also take care of. There will be something. There'll be something. And that's how it was the last time. You start breaking it down. It just stinks. And it's the order in a sentence. We expect the words to just come to us in a certain order. I didn't know the answer. I was young. It was essential to keep my mother going. I'm not trying to be hidden, but it's natural. A story has to leave out nearly everything or nobody can follow it. And she has, for my next one, in the same book, she has kind of the same thing as salt, but it's called, it's in the same book. It's called Book of Love. This section is called Book of Love, and it's on page 60. The actual poem, I don't think there's a title, but I'm just gonna read the page, if that's okay. It's more like windows or pictures in a row, recurring a dream of a numbered list. 400 introverts. To be alone, to be with their animals, to think about science. She's writing all the time. She's carrying a suitcase. She might be going somewhere. My temporary girlfriend, strong trust, weak pitch. I cannot find the empty diamond. I couldn't find the empty diamond. Remembering together provokes doubt. For pitch, it is like light and color. Stress like weight scatters the visible. The diamond ring effect was just seen as totality. Totality starts and ends. Thank you. And then the last one I'm going to read, a very dear friend of mine I met through reading. There is a reading program in the university that I'm at. It's called Open Mouth. And she hosted it along with a friend of mine, Molly Bass Rector, who's also a poet. Her name is Bailey Hutchinson. She released a book in 2022 called Guts. It is beautiful. It is Southern as shit, but it's I pick up this book all the time. It was a 2022 Miller Prize winner. She's on tour. She's a dear friend. I might be seeing her around the 18th, hopefully, or maybe that weekend. Hopefully, we can get together. She's astounding. She's astounding. And I really can't speak much about her, but I'll let her poems speak up for herself because she's got some good ones. And this one is actually, I actually didn't know this. I actually had to look at the pronunciation of the title, and I realized it was an anime character. I had no idea. But that's okay because I fucking love it and I'm cool with it. Self-portrait as Tomo Mommy, beheaded by a witch. Give ribbon, I make musket. And this is no easy thing to build, the ramrod breech, the powder-filled bladder, the channels of oil and flint. All this muster with folded legs and jaw grit before dinner. Meeting my own eye in the mirror, sulfur, I can't say that word, sulfur, or opal, mortar, or knee stock. How to be a girl and also bury bullets, sign a contract. I wonder what a witch is. If she has a saucer for her tea with sugar jarred honeycomb. I didn't know my name on the line meant the kind of forevers that gather for pickling each major vessel organ, each leg's nervous bristle, and so even in death I stand rifle cocked. God of this body, you gave me ribbon, though I asked for please an ungiving thing, so I can find others in the dark, so I can clock the beast in the eye. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Lynn, for those poems and for that journey through some texts that mean a lot to you. That's really close to my heart, as you know, I love posting poems, I love sharing poems, and so it was so cool to hear your work and also this work that meant so much to you. And that again was Lin Elizabeth. You can find on Instagram at Borrowed Potpourri, BORROWED POTPOURRI. And again, it's Naked Cat Literary Magazine that is putting out Lin's chapbook called Cherry Spitter on October 18th. So keep an eye out for that. And Naked Cat Literary Magazine in general, Lin wanted to plug how awesome they are. Prompt, beautiful, they understand small press stuff, and they're just wonderful. So thanks for plugging other people's work and also your wonderful publisher, Lin. And thank you for being the closing reader of our magnificent evening. This has been our second Nightlight experience under that name. So just want to say thank you so much to all of our readers for sharing their beautiful work with us this evening, and thank you to our listeners for giving this hour and more, because of some technical stuff and other reasons, of your lives over to poetry. We hope that if you're listening with a sheaf of new poems close at hand, like Basil wants to join in now, you might consider dropping us a line at Nightlight Poems on Twitter or on Instagram with more underscores. You can send us emails, DM me. We have a reading coming up on Thursday, the 19th of October, that's already looking pretty full. We have some exciting stuff planned for November, maybe a UK poet reading, which could be pretty cool if we pull it off, and then a reading really close to Christmas. So that'll be really cool too. Gregory Santa Claus poems could be more topical, possibly. And then even though we are going a bit long, I always end with a poem, so I'm going to do that. This poem is called September. It's by Fairfield Porter. And thank you again for joining us. September. A warm wind blows all night. No clouds, brilliant stars. The barometer drops on the outermost edge of a hurricane. Rainy morning, the barometer shifts as the wind wheels to the northwest. In adjusting clouds, colors multiply, colors of shells, until the sun bursting through tears them apart again and again. An intense light sucks colors out, a blue-black day. The northwest gale rips whitecaps off, the bay turned dark purple-green, quote, the wine-dark sea, end quote. As night comes, the wind drops, then stars again. Mars in the south, brightest of all.